Hi everybody, it's Andy and welcome to my office in Modesto, California. I'm an attorney licensed to practice law in California as well as New York. In this particular video, I'm going to go over a California specific proof of service form called the FL330. And that form is specifically a proof of service for personal service in California family law cases. So if personal service is not what happened in your case, but you actually mailed it instead, there's a companion video to this one that goes over how to fill in the proof of service by mail form, and that's the form FL335. So the 335 video, I'm going to go ahead and link it right over here. So if this is if this video is what you're more interested in, go ahead and click over, and hopefully you should be all set. But if in your situation you manage to serve a person kind of face to face and actually hand the documents to them, the 330 is what you need. So you're in the right place. So those of you who don't know what a proof of service is, in a nutshell, a proof of service is basically California's term for a document that's used as a kind of receipt, I guess, to prove that a particular document was sent from person A to person B, or company A to company B, party one to plaintiff to defendant, defendant to plaintiff, etc. So as you can probably imagine, a proof of service is very important because it actually has dates, cities, times, people's names, addresses, all that stuff, to actually show who received the document, who sent the document, etc. Out of all of that information, I think the date is probably going to be the most important thing, because as you can probably imagine, in kind of law generally, there are deadlines for things. So certain things have to happen within 30 days, certain things have to happen within 10 days, certain things have to happen within 15 days, but under certain circumstances, the 15 days becomes 10, etc., etc. So the thing is, dates, very, very important, and the proof of service helps you establish when the beginning date happened, I guess, when the clock starts. So when I kind of go to court and I see people doing cases on their own, the proof of service, unfortunately, I think is one of those forms that they don't quite understand, why it's important, how to fill it out, where to get the form, etc. So hopefully this video, as well as the companion video for the 335 form, helps you figure that out if that's the situation that you find yourself in. So that said, the form 335, or the 330 rather, excuse me, is on the computer, and I will go ahead and show you guys how to fill it in. The forms themselves are downloadable. Like I said, I have a video going over how to do that. But I always type the forms out myself because I know that my writing's awful, and I'd rather not have the court, not be able to read anything. If you don't have the ability to type it, that's fine. You don't have to type it. If you can, please do. But if you have to fill it in by hand, make sure you write as legibly as you possibly can. So anyway, that said, let's hop on the computer and I will show you how to fill out the form 330.
Okay, everybody, welcome to the form FL330, Proof of Personal Service for Use in California Family Law Cases. So, like I said in the intro video, I have a companion video to this one called the FL335 video. So go ahead and take a look at that one if you actually served your person by mail instead of in person. So for those of you who have seen my other videos about how to fill in court forms like this top portion right here should look fairly similar, or familiar. Familiar was the word I was looking for. So it should look fairly familiar to you. So over in these four boxes, put either your attorney's information, name, mailing address, or your name and mailing address if you don't have a lawyer. So down here, put the telephone number and fax number. So these forms are fairly similar, but they are slightly different. Normally, the fax number is optional. Most people don't have faxes anymore, so especially if they're not a business or something. So most individuals do not have faxes. So if you don't have a fax number here, don't go out and get one just for this. Go ahead and leave it blank. And right there, if you have an attorney, your name will go there, but if you don't have an attorney, you can go ahead and put in pro per like that, and that's actually just a fancy way of saying that you're representing yourself. So that said, the next portion right here should be fairly self-explanatory. So this form that you're looking at is generic. So it's used all throughout California without regard to county. So for your situation, you have to put in the county where your court case is, as well as the address and city and state zip code. So this whole street versus mailing address distinction, as long as you have a complete address, like, street number, street name, city, state, zip code, I think you're fine. I usually go with the street address, so like, the address of the courthouse itself. Sometimes the mailing address is different, but I usually just go with the court's like physical address, and that's usually okay. So next part here should be pretty self-explanatory. You just put down the parties. Whoever the plaintiff is or petitioner, whoever the defendant or respondent is. If there's another party in the case, for example, the Department of Child Support Services, go ahead and put them down here as well. So over on the right here, case number, like I said, don't know what your case number is. There is no kind of standard uniform kind of statewide numbering scheme. Each county, unfortunately, does it differently. So hopefully you have a good idea of where to get your case number. So over here, if you have a like an upcoming hearing that you're serving something in relation to, go ahead and put that date and time here, as well as the court number, or the department number, rather. That information is helpful to have, but obviously if you don't have it or it doesn't apply to your situation, you can go ahead and leave this section right here blank. So the remainder of the form is actually not too terribly complicated. It's only a page, but I'll go through it fairly quickly. So in general, to serve something, you have to satisfy 3 criteria. So the first one is that you have to be at least 18 years old. I have never had a problem with that. I've never had a situation where a child was having to serve something, but just keep in mind that you have to be at least 18. The next criteria is not a protected person listed in any of the orders. This one, usually it's children, but usually it's minors or elderly people or something like that. Generally, most people will not be a protected person listed in any of the orders. It's like, at best, I would guess you only have a handful of people in each case, maybe 1, 2, or 3. As long as you don't get any of those 3 people to actually serve, you should be fine. The biggest problem for most people who are trying to do a case themselves, is that they usually try to serve in person, to actually serve themselves, and they can't do that. So like the plaintiff cannot serve the defendant cannot serve plaintiff, etc. So I usually take a broader view and actually expand that to include spouses and children, adult children of either party as well. So usually you get a friend to do it, you get your lawyer to do it, somebody who's not related to you by blood or marriage, and that usually is much safer to do. So number 2 here, you actually put down the name of the person who was served. So the thing is, if you serve the defendant, you put the defendant's name down here. If you served the defendant's lawyer or something, you put the lawyer's name there. Number 3, I think, is the most important part, is where you actually describe what it is that was served. So like in the FL335 video, I highly recommend putting something more specific, I guess. So don't put down letter to opposing party, or don't put down letter to plaintiff or something. Like, you're not going to remember what that letter was about, like a year from now, 2 years from now, just in case a problem happens to arise. So put down something that's sufficiently detailed, but not, don't go overboard, put in don't actually put the letter in the box here. Describe the letter in sufficient detail so you can remember what it is later on. Number 4 here, because this is personal service, you have to describe when and where the service actually occurred. So, for example, if you had the defendant served at her work, for example, at, say, 2 p.m. on June the 1st, you'd put down June 1st, 2015, 2 p.m. in the afternoon, and whatever the work address happens to be. The date, the time, and the address are going to be really important because this is personal and not mail service. So the next section here, section 5, this form is generic. So the thing is, this form is used by sheriffs who do service also. It also is used by professional process servers. So if you're an individual and you're filling this form out, just go ahead and click that. When I do when I serve documents and stuff, I'm not a registered process server. I'm not required to be. I'm just an individual. So that's the out of these 5, that's the box that most applies to me. So number 6 is where you, the person filling out this form, actually put down your name, address, and phone number. It sometimes happens where a question arises about whether or not this personal service actually occurred. under what circumstances it occurred, who actually was served. Maybe you thought you served the defendant when you actually served somebody who looked a lot like them, like a close friend or something. So if there are any questions and, you, the server, have to come in, well, actually not come in. You and the server needs to be available, I guess, to answer any questions about how the service was done. So that's why they ask for your name, address, phone number, etc. So number 7 here is important. I personally don't know why they make it a box, but that I think should always be checked, because whenever you fill out a form like this, it's always going to be under penalty of perjury that everything that you put on here is true and correct. If it turns out you check this box and you actually made up stuff, like you made up the fact that the defendant supposedly was served, for example, the fact that it's under penalty of perjury, could subject you to a whole slew of trouble. So I guess last thing is, you'd have to date it here, type your name, and sign over here. Obviously, you can't sign on the computer. So, type everything else out, check the boxes you're supposed to check, and then go ahead and print it, and then sign your name over here with a blue pen, hopefully. I have a video on why blue is preferable. I'm going to go ahead and link it right over here, so go ahead and take a look at that if you are so inclined. Last thing is about the date. If you see my FL335 video, as well as my other videos on proofs of service, you know that this date right here and this date right there, there are special rules that apply. The rule basically is this date has to come before this one. They can be the same date, but this date up here cannot come after this one, because you can't swear on a penalty of perjury about a future event that has happened, or that has not happened yet, I guess. So that's the only rule about the dates. So hopefully that helped. The proof of service is important. I think more people really should file them, because I've seen court proceedings not be able to move forward because a proof of service was not present in the court file. The proof of service is not hard, but it's just kind of a form that a lot of people, I guess, forget about. So hopefully all of that made sense. Feel free to watch this video again and again if you want. And yeah, I will talk to you guys next time then. Thanks.